The Appalachian Trail always felt mythological to me, as if it's not even real, just an abstract concept or perhaps a story you remember from many years ago. It's like a long-forgotten campfire tale, told after a few too many beers. Its massive size is hard to fully comprehend, and I couldn't imagine what sort of person would ever subject themselves to such a punishing environment. No real person would ever be that crazy, right? I mean, it's over 2,000 miles long. The trail runs from Georgia, non-stop, all the way to the deep woods of Maine. I grew up in Maine, and I lived in Pennsylvania and New Jersey for many years, so I always knew about the trail. It was always just sort of there. But one day, on my way home from a local fishing spot, I realized that the AT basically runs through my backyard. I figured, what the hell, let's find out what all the fuss is about. Little did I know, I was about to embark on a life-changing journey that I will remember the rest of my life. This is my story, day hiking the AT through New Jersey. I started getting interested in hiking just before my 42nd birthday, which is not really an ideal time. I have an established job, young kids at home, a bad back, I'm out of shape. I'm your typical 40-year-old. When do I have the time or energy to hike the AT? However, it just seemed to call to me. I had never truly hiked any significant distance before, and I just found the idea intriguing. I love being outside and being in nature, and I just wanted to give it a shot. My plan was to take a day off of work here and there, hit the trail as early as possible. I would hike from one parking area to another, then turn around and head back to my car. That way, I could slowly make my way across the entire New Jersey Trail without committing to doing it all at once. However, it also meant I was hiking the trail twice, out and then back, then leapfrogging to the next spot. This was going to take a while. The trail spans 75 miles through New Jersey, so I'm looking at a total of 150 miles of hiking. The hiking community refers to this as day hiking, as opposed to section hiking or through hiking, where you hike much longer distances and carry everything you need on your back, including camping gear. A full through hike on the AT normally takes 5 to 7 months, and I just don't have that kind of time or, let's be honest, dedication. A day hike means I get to go home each night and sleep in a nice warm bed. Now that sounds good to me. My plan was to cover every inch of New Jersey. This means I had to first touch the Pennsylvania-New Jersey state line, which happens to be halfway across the Delaware River. I crossed the border on a very busy bridge and hence officially began my journey. When I eventually entered the woods, I learned that the AT is no joke. I started going up, and up, and up. As a complete beginner, this was a little more than I had bargained for. However, it definitely paid off.
Alright, I'm not quite 2.5 miles in, and I'm officially beyond the road noise. I can't hear anything. Couple birds, nice breeze, and that's it. We are in the woods.
Even though my first hike was only 6 miles out for a 12-mile round trip, I was instantly hooked. I couldn't wait to get back out. On my return, I pushed myself a little bit further. I found some truly spectacular views. They were some of my favorites over the entire trail. But getting there was a little harder than I had planned.
I'm 42 and not in great shape, and I just started hiking. I put in about 13 miles so far. I got another 1.5 miles to go, but I am beat. My knees hurt, my hands are all swollen, my feet hurt. But my legs are doing okay. I'll make it. Hopefully it gets easier the more I do it. But it's definitely worth it.
2 hikes into this project, I received word that my dad was dying. He had suddenly been diagnosed with an incurable liver disease called PSC and only had a few days left to live. This shocking news had me packing up my family and driving to Maine as quickly as possible to see him one last time. This is my dad. He has this crazy look on his face because he's looking at his 3-year-old granddaughter who stole his phone and snapped this picture. Here's the look again. And again. He was a laid-back, kind, and caring man who loved playing guitar and piano. He loved nature and being outside and photographing animals. He loved his family. It took the doctors a long time to figure out what was wrong with him. After many months of testing, they finally settled on PSC. PSC, or primary sclerosing cholangitis, can be treated with a liver transplant, but my dad did not meet the requirements for the procedure. The diagnosis was heartbreaking and came so late that we barely had enough time to say goodbye. Luckily, he held on just long enough to see his kids and grandkids one last time. After my dad passed, I was a bit lost. I wasn't sure how to handle losing such a big part of my life. Initially, I didn't feel like doing much of anything, but I could hear his voice in the back of my head telling me to move on. The last thing he would have wanted was for me to sit around sulking all day. He would have wanted me to get outside and do something fun. So I did. I picked up where I left off, this time with a slightly better understanding of my limits. Back on the trail, I found myself talking out loud to my father. I believe these conversations helped me start to heal. I mean, what better place to talk to a recently lost loved one than to be surrounded by wilderness and nature, miles from anyone else? My dad was not particularly young, but at 70 there was no reason to believe that he would be gone so soon. His sudden passing drove home the sentiment that life is short, and it made me realize I want to stay around as long as possible for my kids. My project finally had a driving force. This one's for you, Dad. As I kept hiking, I kept finding these amazing views. And I made sure to save some time to sit down and enjoy them. My 5th hike took me to the perfect spot to watch the sunrise. As I waited, just as the sun crested the horizon and started lighting up the skyline, a little chickadee flew right next to me and started singing. My dad loved birds, and I found it fitting that the Maine state bird was sitting next to me right now. The chickadee and I enjoyed the sunrise together, then it flew off. Now, I'm not one to believe in signs, but you can take that how you will, and I'll take it how I will. In many ways, hiking the trail reminds me of playing in the woods as a kid and going on the kinds of adventures that only kids can go. It brings me back to my childhood, playing in the forests of Maine, rustling through the leaves, climbing trees, looking for pine cones or bugs or whatever. It just feels like home. Many times I found myself in awe. I marveled at the way the sun flows through the tree canopy and reflects off the plants below. And you can see the rays of light shining down on the forest floor, engulfing you as you walk. It's magical. Random beauty is everywhere out there, if you take the time to find it. There's something special about being on the trail just after the sun rises. Maybe it's the angle of the light through the trees, or the cool, calm air, or the recently awoken birds that haven't fully started their morning song. But it just seems more peaceful. It's a new start, a new day, new life on the trail, and I like being part of it. One cold October morning, I decided to hike early so I could catch the sunrise from the Culver Fire Tower. Hiking in the dark was a trip. Literally. I tripped a lot. Plus the trail was completely covered in wet leaves, making navigation difficult. Of course, I also chose one of the windiest days of the year for this special hike. Looking back, not a great idea. But it happened, so let's move on. I reached the Culver Fire Tower, went up one flight, and immediately went straight back down. It was ridiculously windy, and being so exposed caused me to panic.
So I made it to the Culver Fire Tower, but it is windy out here, and I want to go up there. It seems a little sketchy, but there's a sunrise coming up. It'd be really awesome to be up there.
After thinking about it, I started thinking about my dad. I felt like he was telling me that I could do it if I wanted to. The tower wasn't gonna fall. I would be fine. He didn't push me. He wasn't hanging over my head guilting me. He just wasn't like that. He encouraged me and told me that I could do it. And I thought, you know what? You're right, Dad. I can do this. So I did. This time, I reached the 4th platform and had an amazing view of the sunrise.
Alright, I did it! I climbed up some of the tower. I didn't go all the way to the top. It is so windy out here. It's freaking me out. But I got to see the sunrise. I mean, look at this weather equipment. Look at it go. It is scary up here. So I'm going back down. But look at that sunrise.
Was I scared up there? You betcha. I was holding on to my phone for dear life. I thought for sure I was going to drop it. My hands were cold, I was getting pushed around by the wind, but afterwards, I can honestly say I'm glad I did it. I'm proud of myself for being able to overcome that fear, and I owe that to my dad. Approaching and reaching High Point Monument was surreal. I'd been seeing it for months. Many miles back, it looked so far away, and to approach it now and stand next to it just felt immense. It was incredible to be able to look back on where I'd come and see how far I still have to go, and know I'm going to see this through to the end. Passing High Point truly kicked my hiking into high gear. I could feel the finish line getting closer as I pressed on through some snowy and rainy days. I was enjoying this experience more and more each time I got out on the trail. But at the same time, I started to feel sad that this would soon be over. With the arrival of spring, the trail burst to life. Everything began to wake up and bloom. The trees were filled with birds, the animals busied themselves with their daily duties, lovely flowers lined the path, and greenery was everywhere. Walking through this transported me to a long-forgotten world and reminded me that we're all part of this beautiful creation, this world that begs to be shared with everyone. On the trail, you forget about your daily commute, your stresses at work, or any anxieties you may be dealing with. You forget about the small problems, and you just exist in harmony with everything else. The trail and its beauties never tired for me over this whole adventure. Whether it was catching a glimpse of a bear, a snake, a porcupine, or approaching a stunning lookout, or meeting a fascinating hiker on their way to Mount Katahdin. At no time did I find myself bored. I walked for 150 miles without listening to music or playing on my phone. My time on the trail became meditative. I spent a lot of time reflecting on myself and wanting to become a better person. Not only has the trail helped heal me, but it has enlightened me. I feel like I know myself better now. As I stroll across the state line into New York, I feel a sense of pride and sorrow. I reached my goal, but my journey was over. Yeah, I just completed one of the easiest states on the AT. Big deal, right? But to me, it is a big deal.
Well, I finally made it to the border. Finished my walk through New Jersey. It only took me 10 months to do it. I gotta say, I'm so thankful this trail is here. It helped me mourn the loss of my dad. And really let me reconnect with him in a way I never thought possible. And who would have thought walking through the woods would be such great therapy?
This milestone came the day after Father's Day, which made this moment extra emotional.
This is the type of thing that I'm sure my dad would have loved to have seen. And I wish I could have shared it with him. But being out here just reminds me of him being outside. I don't know. It's like it gives me a vehicle to talk to him. And just remember him. And I like to think that he's watching and he gets to enjoy this view the same time I do.
I just sat down for a while. I thought about my dad, myself, life, my kids, my wife, and I decided I wasn't done yet. So I continued hiking into New York. And I learned the trail wasn't done with me yet either. It had one more surprise.
Oh. Good bear. That was a little close. Of course I would see a bear on my last hike. My dad always wanted to see bear. It just fits. It was perfect.
In a way, the trail helped heal me. It helped me mourn the loss of my father, who I loved dearly and still miss every day. It helped me start making better choices in my life. It helped me get stronger and leaner and think more clearly. It helped me find my path. I think the trail has a mystical quality to it. When you first start, it's just like a trail like any other. You walk on it just like everybody else. But the more time I spend out here, the more time I feel connected to nature, to my father, to my family, to myself. So what's next for me? I don't know. Maybe I'll venture into New York or Pennsylvania. Who knows? Maybe I'll head out even further someday. I can tell you this for sure. I've enjoyed this project immensely. I lost my father, but I found myself. And I have no plans to stop anytime soon.
All right, you ready? Go ahead. Whenever you're ready.
All right. This is happy day. Ready? Today is happy day. And everybody's happy through and through. Today is happy day. Today is happy day. And that means even you.
Yay! Good job.